I'm Gina Prince Bythewood, director of The Old Guard. I've been making movies and TV for 25 years now.
Let's move!
Wait for the signal.
How the hell can you even tell?
I'm gonna keep up on all that.
My first job in the industry was on A Different World, which was my favorite show at the time. That show had 3 black women in prominent positions. Susan Fales Hill was exec producer, Debbie Allen was producer-director, and Yvette Lee Bowser was a producer. The fact that for my first gig at 22 years old, I got to go to work and black women were running things. That was my normal. And that absolutely was such an incredible influence. I did not know how a writer's room really worked. I was very fortunate that I had great mentors because the writer's room can be a vicious place, especially a comedy writer's room. I mean, if you're not funny, if you are not brave, you will get crushed pretty quickly. The other amazing thing about my first job at A Different World is that a man named Reggie Rock Bythewood was hired a week after I was. We clicked immediately, became best friends, and then 6 years later he became my husband. So it was a really great time being in that room. I ended up quitting television and giving myself a year to write a screenplay. That script was actually Love and Basketball, and it was really locked in my head as the first thing I wanted to write. I got scared that nobody would care about the story about this black girl who wants to be the first girl in the NBA. Who was gonna buy that? And I tried to write something else that I thought the industry would want. I just kept getting writer's block, and it was because this personal story was just locked in my head, and I decided, let me just go for it. It's really hard to write a spec because there's no guarantee that anyone's ever gonna buy it, but I believed in this story. My husband, Reggie Rock, believed in this story, and we spent a year and a half pounding out the script, believing it, fighting for it. I mean, it's an incredibly lonely place to be, but there are also those amazing moments as a writer. I call it the flow, where I don't know where it's coming from, but my fingers are going and I'm typing and the characters are talking to me. It's an amazing thing. And so I wanted to write a Black Harry Met Sally. I love that film. I love what it had to say. But I also knew that those type of films were not being made with black characters in them. I am blessed to be in this position, but it has been incredibly tough. It's been a tough journey. I think the toughest thing for me throughout these years is discrimination against the type of stories that I want to tell. You know, I love telling stories and putting black women at the center. I think if you look at my body of work, starting with Love and Basketball and all the way up to The Old Guard with Kiki Lane's character Nile, I want to put black women on screen and often center them in their own stories. And it is tough to tell our stories, but I know growing up how hard it was. Just watching TV, going to the movies, I never saw myself reflected, and it makes you feel invisible. I wanted to give little black girls the opportunity to go to the movies and see themselves reflected, because I know what it can do for you. I know not only for black women and black girls and black boys and black men, but also how important it is for the world to see us in ways that are inspiring or that people can aspire to be. More of our stories need to be made, absolutely.
Get on the ground, now. Get on the ground.
Shots Fired, my husband and I co-created, and it was a story that we absolutely needed to tell. Frighteningly, the same things are going on at this time, but at that time it was Mike Brown, it was Trayvon Martin. Given that we had 2 boys, we needed to tell the story. We wanted to try and use our art to change what was happening, to allow basically white folks to understand what we go through when these deaths happen. And so we had the idea to flip the narrative and show, okay, so what would happen if a black cop killed a white kid? How would you feel about it then? In addition to also having a young black boy that was killed, and to be able to show the difference in how it's handled. You know, it was interesting to go back and now suddenly have a writer's room and have other writers that you could bounce things off of that could bring their own ideas to what we had already put on paper. It was a really good room. It was a really good collaboration. I enjoyed that again after so many years of really being on my own. and would absolutely do it again. I make my choices on what stories I'm going to tell by my gut. It is absolutely a thing I have to feel, and when I read a script, if I've got that guttural feeling of I have to do something as opposed to I want to, it's that have to that drives me and makes me say yes. You have to be passionate to get you through the tough moments of directing a film. On set, for me as a director, I feel like I'm always chasing the perfect take, and I've seen it, and it's an amazing feeling to get a perfect performance, and it inspires me to get up every day. I love the collaboration. I love working with actors. For me, trusting my gut and knowing what appeals to me, which are films that are fun, that move me, but absolutely have something to say. I hope that my work ultimately can change the world. That is why I'm an artist. It sounds incredibly lofty, maybe even arrogant, but that is why I'm an artist. I need to change the world. Again, film is so powerful. Television is so powerful. It can literally change perception and change culture. And we see what is going on in the world today. It is absolutely, we have to change the narrative. We have to change the narrative of how people see us and how people feel about us. And we really do have the power to do that with film and television. So I hope that my work in centering it on Black folks and certainly Black women, that will be my legacy.